Good. And how's your week been?
Week was productive and constructive. It was filled with knowledge.
Wait, have you changed your hair? Yeah, you have,
Yeah,
haven't you? That's nice.
I changed my hair. So how are you?
Oh,
How was your week?
week was good. Got quite a lot done, but these headaches, man, and I'm not sure. I think um I think being around a little one, um, I think COVID has left me slightly immunocompromised. It's either that or I was I took some quite strong uh, supplements yesterday, and I think it could be that my body's fighting any like last bits of infection that's there. So feeling not 100%, feeling a little bit fragile, but I'm here. I'm looking forward to our session today.
Awesome. I'm sure you'll become very, very good because I will pray for you because you're a very nice person.
Thank you so much, my darling. Thank you. I appreciate it.
So, sorry and thank you. Sorry for making you wait. Thank you for waiting.
You know what? You're welcome. Sometimes the patience is called a virtue for a reason, is it not?
Yeah.
And haste makes waste and all these old granny things. It's while I'm working on healing, I'm thinking of my grandmother quite a lot and her wisdom. Um, but I digress. Um, so I just want to say to everybody, hi, welcome, hello. Smart Cherries Tech and Coded Carbon are here for another session today. We're going to be covering Amazon API Gateway as it contains elements of Lambda, which we covered last time. And then also we'll do some work on Amazon CloudFront, which also can tie in with Lambda as well. All right, how's that sound?
Yeah. It is fantastic. Yeah. So I'm waiting for that.
All right, so I'm going to start by sharing my screen. Again, as normal, just let me just double check that you can see it first. Can you see the screen?
Yes, I can see. I can see your screen.
All right. So, as normal, I'm on Amazon Quick Labs, and we are going to do the introduction to Amazon API Gateway. API stands for, and while the lab is starting, oh, select all images with mountains or hills. So there's some security, which is good. Uh, that looks like a hill to me, and that looks like a hill to me. Let's see. Oh, okay. maybe not. Oh dear. There we go. Okay, so that's just to say I'm not a robot or a bot, which is fine. So API stands for Application Programming Interface, and because looking it up, because you'll find that in the tech world there's a lot of acronyms, and for beginners, I guess it can be quite overwhelming, but it's quite easy to get used to it once you start using these services and applications. But basically, an API interface allows like users and developers and whatnot to basically it acts as like a middleman between the back end and users, etc., etc. But we're about to do um, a lab where we will create a Lambda function, test the Lambda function, and the Lambda function will be used to create, I believe it's a frequently asked questions section, say for like a website or what have you. And I'm going to open the console. Can you still see the screen?
Yes.
All right, cool. So then we'll make a start. So on services, we're going to go to Lambda, and as it says, click create function. So Lambda, so it's here. If it wasn't, it's good to get into the habit of typing it in so you get exactly what you're looking for. Okay, and then we're going to do create over on the right hand side, the orange button, create function. And we are going to select author from scratch, which I believe is on the left. And then, yeah, it is, and it's already highlighted as default. But if it's not, so basically Lambda functions can be done from a blueprint that you have, like a sample of code, a container image if you're into Docker and things like that, or serverless app repository. There's AWS has one. There are others out there. But for this one, I'm going to stick with author from scratch. In the basic information, function name is going to be FAQ, or frequently asked questions. FAQ. Runtime is Node.js 12. So it's default is on 14. So we're gonna just scroll a little bit until we find Node.js 12x, and then we're gonna now go scroll down a bit and change the default execution role, which is that it's just underneath permissions. So now we're looking at the roles and the functions, and we're going to select use an existing role, and the lab has created one, which is Lambda Basic Execution. It might be that also AWS will have that some of the services and apps in AWS will have a bit like a role attached already pre-made, but depending on your level of need for access and need for either creation or what have you, you may need to increase the permissions, like the level that you can actually access. It just depends, because remember, AWS works on sort of least access necessary to container function. So we've basically selected Lambda Basic Execution, which is a pre-existing role that comes with, like, so I believe it's an AWS managed role, and you can actually, there's an option for you to look at it if you want to. We're gonna just go with it and just click create function. Okay, so the next step, so we've created a Lambda function, and now we're going to put in there what we need to. So the next thing that we're going to do is click the code tab, which is scroll down. So you have your page looking like this. You can see that's your Lambda function there. And then we're going to scroll down to code here. And we are going to copy this code, because it says copy this code shown below and paste it into the index tab. Index JS, which stands for JavaScript. So if you see on the left hand side, if we select index.js, and what we're going to do is select what's already there and paste what we just copied. So basically what we just copied is the information at the start is what language we're using, what service we're using, where to reference it from, and what have you, and what the reference is going to be in terms of the actual address. And then the actual body of it is the questions that we're going to be using. There's some more information at the bottom. So it's saying that we need to export the handler, and then the function is to create an event, I believe. There's some other language there that will be make more or less sense depending on your level of knowledge. We don't need to go into that. I'm just saying that it's there. So once we've copied this code in, we're going to click deploy, because once we've added the code, we see it says changes not deployed. We need to hit deploy to action them from, because basically Lambda believes that the code that we pasted over is what's running. So when you input new code, you have to hit deploy in order for Lambda to understand, okay, this is the code we're running now. All right, so click deploy, and then we're going to click the configuration tab and hit edit. So which is here, configuration tab, general configuration, edit, which brings us to some basic settings. And for description, we want to provide a random frequently asked question, which is the command. Let me just double check. For description, yeah. I always tend to double check back the way I've written it, because sometimes it's relevant, sometimes it's not. So it said to put that description in. It's optional, but there's a reason why they want us to put that in. The memory is the same, timeout's the same, everything else is there, and hit save. So now it's saying that Lambda functions can be triggered automatically by activities such as data being received from, say, Kinesis, or like if you upload something to an S3 bucket. But we're going to scroll up to the function overview section. So let's see. Okay, which is this bad boy at the top here. And we're going to add a trigger. And then the trigger that we're going to select is an API gateway. Oh, this looks interesting. So add a trigger. And now we're going to select a trigger. It's the first one. Oi, oi. API gateway. All right, so now we're going to just do some configuration of our selection. We're going to create an API. The API type is REST API. Security is open. Let's do those first. API, create an API. Said REST API. So we'll select that. Security, we said, was open. So here it has the option to use IAM or an API key, which would increase security, but because it's a lab, it's open. Or maybe it might be that it needs to be internet facing, like, and accessible, like basically from the public, which is possible. And then additional settings. AQ-API, and deployment stage is my deployment. Let's do that. Okay, it's in there, the API name. FAQ API. The name is my deployment stage. My deployment. Let's check. At the bottom right, click add. Ah, there it is. So at this point, we've attached the API gateway as a Lambda function. I believe that's we've successfully created the Lambda function. This has also created a default API gateway that will trigger the Lambda function. All right, so let's test it. Are you following along as well, Si?
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. All right, so let's do the second step, which is to test the function that we've just created. So under the API gateway, we're going to expand details to view the details of our API. So so you scroll down a little bit because now it's saying that there's a trigger here, and underneath it, we're going to expand details. So there's a little arrow just underneath API gateway in the trigger box. And then we're going to copy the API endpoint to our clipboard. So let's do that real quick. So the API endpoint, which is here, copy the link. And then in a new browser, we're going to paste it. So new tab, paste. And awesome, here's one of our questions that's come up. A question might be different because I believe that they're selected randomly, but it's working because the questions come up. For me, it's what is a Lambda function? And then it gives the answer also. That is dope. Yeah, I really like that. All right, excuse me. And it can be also tested in isolation. So I'll close the browser tab and return to the web browser, showing the Lambda. Okay. So now we're going to test it a different way. So one way of testing it was to, because it's web facing, which is why it was open, which is why I could post the address to that page and paste it in the browser, which would then allow me to access that information in the form of FAQs. However, another way of testing it is to go to the page, and if you scroll up a little bit next to code, you've got test. So if you select test, and then we're going to call it basic test. So name it here, basic test. Oops, I can't spell. Oh yeah, you don't, no spaces. How did they say to put it? Okay, all together, basic test. Cool. And where it says the keys and values, like there should be just have an empty, like, so we're gonna, you can either copy and paste it from here or simply just delete what's inside it so that you have, oops, no, that wasn't the one. It's that one. No, it wasn't. Oh, will you stop? Okay, that doesn't seem to want to work. We'll just paste it like that. Here we go. Then save the changes. And then hit test. And we can see the test was successfully saved. And here where it says execution result succeeded, and then the logs for it are here. So it has tested successfully because the result returned by the function was a question and the answer. And then further down, you have some logging as well that you can read through. Request ID, what version, when, what time, how much it costs, the build, the duration, memory size, etc. So that was very successful, very good. And then we're going to click the monitor tab next. So now that we know that the test has worked, we're going to click the monitoring. and then we're going to do view logs in CloudWatch. Um, you will have some cloud. This page will give you some CloudWatch metrics, and obviously, the more you use it, the more data that's going to be there. There's that sort of one for now because we've just done it once, done the test. But we're going to do view logs in CloudWatch and hit that. Oops. And then what you do is you click on one of the log streams. So I'll scroll down and you can see we created one sort of job or gave one instruction and it's got the latest. So you click on the log streams. Obviously, if that was a like if it was up and running where your website or what have you, it's been interacted, there'd be more streams. But for this one, like basically you can actually drill down, see the version, the latest, and you can see what has been generated by this Lambda function so far, which is really helpful. Like if there's a break in the resource or something's not working, it's good to help find any kind of faults within the code or within the way that the process is running to be able to isolate. So that was basically our concluded being able to create the Lambda function, create an Amazon API gateway endpoint, and be able to debug the gateway with Lambda and Amazon CloudWatch. So that means, so we was able to create the function, put the code in, create the API gateway, connect that to it, and then be able to check to see whether or not there are any issues. I think I would call that a good job. Um, if you got to the end of that, well done. I find it fascinating, to be honest, to be able to do something like that on a like to be able to automate it. Because I believe, no, I'm not going to say that because I'm not sure. But that's the end of that lab. If you got to the end and had a better understanding, I've already done this before because I just enjoy it. But if you gain a better understanding of how it works and that like these sort of acronyms and functions that may sound like completely like another language, which technically they are to begin with, it's the understanding of how to utilize them. And I find it helpful to find like use cases for them. So yeah, well done. So, but that was good. That was fun. Um, Next we can go to Amazon CloudFront and just from the CloudFront is a way to basically reduce latency, um, distribute your product further without slowing down. So, for instance, if your website or your availability zone was in North America and somebody in China wanted to access your website, um, just because of the distance and what have you, it's got to travel from the availability zone and the region in North America to a space to be then picked up by in Asia, etc., and then directed to where it needs to go. What CloudFront does is kind of pushes the your data to like edge regions, I believe it's called, where there's edges where it's easier for regions that are far away to pick them up. So then there's not that latency because obviously somebody in North America would find it easier to access that data more quickly than somebody the other side of the world. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Okay. As long as I'm not just waffling for the sake of waffling. Yeah. Um, but I find it's quite helpful. It will help to speed things up. It will help to make your data more available. Um, it will just help things to be a lot more streamlined, which I think is brilliant. And also no minimum usage commitments. So like the AWS documentation saying that it's distribute distribute content to end users with low latency, high data transfer speeds. So that would be useful for, say, maybe, I don't know, a journalist or something that is in one part of the world, maybe reporting, and has to like upload video and stuff like that. Um, in time for, I don't know, the 7 o'clock news or something, 7 a.m. news or what have you. So they'd have to be working quite quickly. And you can understand that latency. It's like, oh yeah, yeah, I've got the video, the footage here, but just wait for it to upload. Can understand that wouldn't be the one. So there's need for that high data transfer, depending on what it is that you're going to do. But I'm going to stop waffling and let's start this lab. So we are going to first store a publicly accessible image file in a S3 bucket. Let's do it. Can you still see the screen?
Yeah, yeah, I can
All
see.
right, all right, cool. So we're gonna go to S3. Yes, it is here, but I'm gonna try and take my own advice and get into the habit of actually typing it into the search bar. Well, it wasn't my advice; it's my teacher's advice. And there's reasons for it. So, but it's good to have both, basically. So what are we going to do? So we're going to first create a bucket, and the bucket name is going to be CF lowercase and then bucket or uppercase. Oh, and then basically where it says bucket uppercase, we're going to replace that with a random number. All right, cool. Like so. So create bucket. So the original said CF bucket, but the instruction was replace bucket with a random number. Um, I find it's just useful to put today's date. Makes sense?
Yeah,
We're going to scroll down and hit create bucket. Right, right, okay, successfully created. And if we look at our list, right, it's there. Okay, cool. So we're going to click on the bucket that we created and click the permissions tab. Right, so we're in the bucket that we just created and we're going to go to permissions. So by default, anytime you create a bucket, because AWS is like as hot as they can be about security, and remember least access, like to ensure that security is as tight as possible. By default, when you create an S3 bucket, all public access is on, um, which is fine if your bucket is containing information that you want in your backend that is only for your organization. But some buckets do things like house websites or information that needs to be accessed via the web, so via the public. So what we're going to do now is edit the access, edit it that it gives only as much access as it needs to. So let's do that. So we're going to do edit and deselect it all. So edit, then we're going to deselect this, leave everything else deselected, which tells us that our bucket is going to be accessed via the internet. So the dialog box comes up and asks you, you type confirm. So the thing I like about the way that AWS does this is that basically when you're performing an action that could be like quite permanent and have like quite, you know,
Should
long
we
lasting implications.
should we
Sorry?
click should we click on should uncheck uh, block all public access?
Yeah, you're gonna uncheck all of it, so deselect it so that none of them are selected.
Okay.
And what that does is it tells AWS that this bucket is going to be open for the public to access whatever's in there. Yeah. So then what you should end up with. So shall I do that step again?
No, no, I got you.
Okay. So it's basically to go in, hit edit, and then you deselect or take the tick off where it says block all public access. And what that did was take the ticks off all the others too. And what that's doing that is it's left the bucket open. Okay. And then we're now going to click the objects tab and click upload and add files. Okay. So we're going to scroll up. We're going to go to objects, upload, and then add file. Right. Select an image that you'd like to upload. If you don't have one, okay, so it's saying that basically we're gonna upload an image to our bucket. So hypothetically, this image would be for our website or what have you. If you don't have an image already on your computer, you can basically go to a website in your browser, download an image like for your desktop, and then choose a file like basically. So download a picture from the net. Um, it will be deleted straight after, so that'll be fine. So let's do that. Let's see. So we're going to add files. I've still got the happy face. I've got Mr. Happy Face from last time. Hello, Pops. Right, we'll add Pops. And then hit upload. And that's done. So next what we'll do is click the file that we've uploaded and hit the permissions tab. So once it's uploaded, there's the file. And then we're going to go to the permissions, it says, and click edit. Right. So when editing the access control list, which is like who can get it. So the grantee is the person who's kind of created it or the organization. You got some sections here. So the grantee can both read objects and read and write access control list objects. So next we've got everyone public access, and let's have a look. Under everyone public access, we want to select read for both objects and object ACL. So basically we're telling the bucket that we want the public to be able to read both the objects and the objects access control list you can see that write is not able to be selected. So we don't want the public writing to a bucket or uploading stuff basically, but we do want them to be able to see what it contains. And you can see because that constitutes a security consideration, it comes up with a little sign, and then it says when you grant access to the everyone or authenticated user group grantees, anyone in the world can access this object. Understand, and so you have to click the box. So you have to. It's constantly confirming. Do you see what I mean? And you save the changes, but you're telling AWS, yes, I haven't done this by accident. Somebody's not trying to hack in or what have you. I actually do want what's contained in this bucket to be, or I do want this object to be accessed by the public with. I don't know how I did that actually. Okay, so in the object overview section, copy the value of key to a text editor for later use. Let's do that then. Object overview. Right, okay. So this is the object overview, and we are going to copy the value of the key of key. So let's find key. There. At the bottom, you've got key. We're going to copy that. And then we're going to paste it to a text editor for later use. I like to use Notepad really quick. And then paste, oh pants, and then paste it there. Just minimize it. Okay, next. This is the name of your file. Okay, and then copy the value of object URL, which is this highlighted, which is basically the address. I'm going to copy that, and then we're going to go to our text editor. I just hit enter a couple of times and paste that there. So now we've got the file name, and we've also got the basically the address of the file, so, or its URL basically. All right. Paste the object URL into a new browser tab. All right, let's do that. Hit enter, and there's pops. So it's we know that from our settings, it is accessible from outside because the unique address, the URL for the image, even though it's secure, it's accessible from a public browser. Yeah, because we've made it our settings like that. So like it says, it proves that it's publicly accessible. But this won't be what we'll use. That won't be the URL that we'll use when we're ready to distribute our content. So that's worth noting for now. All right, so we're going to go to step 2. So we're going to create a CloudFront web distribution that distributes the file stored in the publicly accessible S3 bucket. All right, let's go. So we're going to go to services, and you can select it from the list, or you can type in the search CloudFront. Awesome. So we're going to click on create distribution and then get started. create distribution, get started. All right, now we get to the meat, the vegetable and potatoes. So the origin domain name is the S3 bucket that we created. Okay, so that's why they told us to copy the oh, hold on, am I reading this? When you click on it, there'll be some S3 buckets or what have you. There's a like list of options. I remember that mine was CF with today's date, so I'm going to select that. Then scroll to the bottom of the page and click create distribution. So it's basically saying that I want CloudFront to distribute from this bucket, and it's just in progress. So we'll wait for that to do while I read the next steps. So the status column shows in progress for your distribution. After Amazon CloudFront has created your distribution, the value of the status column will change to deployed. At this point, it will be ready to process requests. This should take around 15 to 20 minutes. Really? The domain name that Amazon CloudFront assigns to your distribution appears on the list of distributions. It will look similar to .cloudfront.net. Amazon CloudFront now knows where your Amazon S3 origin server is, and you know the domain name associated with the distribution. Now we're going to create a link to our S3 bucket content with the domain name and have Amazon CloudFront serve it. So that's like the middleman. Okay, let's check to see if it's deployed. It's still in progress. I hope it doesn't take 20 minutes. If it does, we can always look at something else in the meantime. I'm sure I've tried this before and it didn't take that long. Okay, let's look at something useful. So let's go to AWS CloudFront. And let's look at some information on that in the meantime while we check. So it's a fast content delivery network. Okay. That securely delivers data, videos, applications, and APIs to customers globally. It's secure, really optimized to avoid DDoS or distributed denial of service. Highly programmable, it's saying, and secure edge. Deep integration. Okay, let's look at some of the features. So there's a global edge network. So as you can see, if we look at, there's different locations and then regional edge cache. I always mess up that word. So you can see, so there's what, 4 in North America edges, regional edges. There's 1 in South. There's quite a few in Europe, so there's 3 in Europe there. Where's this again? My geography's not so good. I think this is Australia now. Okay. Oops. But so it covers, basically you can contact and connect with the world through it, through the edge locations. Let me just check back. Hold on, deployed. Okay, I can stop that now because that was actually painful. So it's deployed. and enabled, and it wasn't 15 minutes. Awesome. So let's do the next step. Task 3, and we're going to create a link to our object. So we're going to copy this file here. I believe it's copied, but just in case, let's do that. Into a new text file. Ah, okay, I got you. Well, it says into a new one, but what I tend to do is just enter a few times because I'm working on the same thing. So it's saying in the text file, replace domain with your Amazon CloudFront domain name for your distribution. You should see this on the CloudFront distributions page. So let's look at that. The domain name. Ah, here's the domain name. Oh, awesome. So remember it said .cloudfront. Have I moved this as far over as it can go? Like, there we go. Yeah. So .cloudfront.net. Yeah. So on our piece of code on the editor, let me just double check. Replace domain with your domain name. So that's domain in the capitals here. So we'll paste that there. Makes more sense. Okay. And then replace object with the name of the file that you uploaded. Okay, which is this one here. So it's good to keep it. So the domain is the address, and then the object you insert here. Okay. And then next. And then it says save your text file as myimage.html. File save as. My image.html. Alright, cool. I'm going to minimize it for now so I can get back to it really quickly. And then it says open the web page you just created in a browser to ensure that you can see your content. Alright, let's do it. Let's do it. It's here, it's on the desktop. Okay, so my extra information there, but there we go. It does work. Awesome. The browser returns your page with the embedded image file served from the edge, and like it must have been like one of the edge locations close to me because it came back literally whoosh, yeah. So now we're going to delete it. So basically there's something called the cleanup afterwards, which is where, depending on what service you're using and what you're using it for, especially for a task where we're learning, it's good to clean up what you did, which is kind of like go back on yourself and delete the steps that you've taken. So we're going to go now, and in the console we're going to select the checkbox for our CloudFront distribution, click disable, and then click close. Hold on, so let's do that. Let's do it step by step. So we're going to, in CloudFront, we're going to select it, hit disable, yes, disable, and then it's saying that it can take up to 15 minutes. Hit close, obviously, and then it's saying that the disabling is in progress. So while we're looking at that, right, it says the value of the state column immediately changes to disabled. Wait until the value status of that column changes to deployed. So it's basically saying, yes, we want to deploy the disablement basically. And then when it changes to deployed, we're going to select the checkbox for, okay, so it's like following the steps again. So once, so what it's saying is first, we selected it to disable it, and that's in progress. So once the disabling of this distribution is deployed, then we select it again and hit delete. So we have to disable it first, so stop it running first and then delete it second, if that makes sense. It's like if you was driving a car, you wouldn't just pull the handbrake up, like you'd hit the clutch and the brake to slow the car down first before you actually stopped it and pulled the handbrake up, if that makes sense. For those of us that drive, not all of us do drive. It's still in progress, so we'll look at the next step. Next we're going to be deleting the S3 bucket also, but we'll get to that in a moment. Not long left. See, I'm tempted to hit the refresh button. Why not? Ah, there we go, deployed. So now select it, delete, yes, delete, and it's been deleted. See, once you disabled it, to delete it was pretty much instantaneous, sorry. So then we're going to go to services S3. So we're going to find our bucket, select it, click delete. So to confirm deletion, you have to put the there is a this bucket is not empty. Buckets must be empty before they can be deleted. To delete all objects in the bucket, use the empty bucket configuration. Okay, so we can do this. So we are in the bucket, selected happy face JPEG, which is the object that's in the bucket. I'm going to hit delete. Deleting the specified objects can't be undone. Specified object is here. So permanently delete it. To confirm it, you have to type permanently delete permanent. Oh, that must be really awful hearing me say it out loud. But when it comes to the English language, it's quite interesting the way it's put together, and I just find it easier. My divergent brain finds it easier to actually sound it out to make sure I get the spelling right. Just allow me in it. All right, so we're going to close the bucket. So now we've deleted what's in the bucket. Hopefully, now we can delete the bucket. Now you can see, right, deleting a bucket cannot be undone. Bucket names are unique. If you delete a bucket, another AWS user can use the name. So to confirm it, we type delete. Oh, it's to delete it. That's why reading is fundamental. Confirm deletion. Enter the name of the bucket in the text input field. Like the thing I like about AWS is it will ask you to do what it needs you to do, like very clearly. And begin with, there is the once you start to kind of feel more comfortable, there is a temptation of like whizzing around and stuff. But if you just take a couple of extra seconds to actually read what's been asked of you, then there's less room for error because they literally have set it up in such a way that it's so hard to mess things up. It is only if you kind of like rushing or not paying attention. So we started off talking about patience, isn't it? Um, so yeah, that's quite funny to me. Okay, so delete the bucket. So we have finished. So we're going to sign out. And then we're going to hit end lab. Very satisfied with this lab. For me, that was fun. Because with CloudFront and things like that, it's such a large concept that I find it I find it difficult. Why isn't it? Okay, thank you. I find it difficult to conceptualize without experiencing like what it's actually doing. So I find it really valuable personally to be able to like have such a concept like okay, I can distribute data or video or whatever like halfway across the world like without like slowing it down or like how I need to actually see it in, and it's amazing. So that was an introduction to Amazon CloudFront, which is dope. Okay, how you doing for time, Si?
Yeah, yeah. One second. I'm I'm following you. I'm deleting from my side also
Oh,
the bucket. So I'm
okay,
typing permanently. So I have few questions to you about this. Can I ask?
of course.
Yeah. Let me delete this.
Hmm.
What happens if we don't delete this in S3 bucket?
Okay, so in the lab, I believe that once you sign out, nothing happens. But in terms of best practice, like it would just be deleted because, like, once you close the lab, it's deleted anyway. But it's just more a case of getting you into best practice. So in terms of space, in terms of so a S3 bucket itself is free. However, if you would like using it full, like basically the services or whatever the bucket is housing may cost. So there may be like depending on the amount of data that's in there, there might be a cost incurred, or there might be a case of whereby, for instance, if you've got like Lambda functions connected or another service connected to objects in the bucket that costs, without doing that cleanup and getting rid of what's unnecessary, you could be incurring charges and not realize it. And then, okay, for this example, we had one bucket, but supposing, for instance, you are a solutions architect that is serving like multiple customers, and you have multiple customers buckets within your S3 section. So it could be, I don't know, Apple's bucket, Netflix bucket, etc., etc., etc. It can start to get a bit hard in terms of house. It's basically good housekeeping to once you finish with something, delete it, clear it down out the way. It's less cluttered. Um, it reduces costs, and also the fact that this particular bucket was public facing, it also increases security to delete it once you're done, because due to the fact it being public facing, it becomes a possible in terms of risk assessment, a possible portal for DDoS or distributed denial of service, or for people to hack into your account. So um, from a security level, it's good to delete what you're not using, especially when public facing. And then just from a housekeeping standpoint, it's good to do so. And also from a costings and sort of just management perspective as well, it's also good to do so.
So, what is the use of API gateway and CloudFront?
So API gateway, so application programming interface. So API gateway, I believe, would be like a middleman. So for instance, something like a Netflix. I believe the API gateway is like, the page where you log in and put your username and what have you. You put that in. So on the back end, or on the front end, technically, developers and whatnot are probably in there fixing faults, etc., etc., etc. But also, the public needs to be able to log in to access that um, application, but without them affecting the content within it. Do you see what I mean? So it's almost like a middleman. So it's, instead of letting like thousands, hundreds, millions of people into your application to access the movies and the programs and the films within it, if we use Netflix as a example, you don't want to let them into the application, but you want them to be able to access the data. And an API gateway, I believe, is the means that, okay, the users can speak to the API gateway, and I'll send them to the appropriate room. It'd be like a bit like a concierge, like at a hotel, or a bellboy saying, "Okay, hi, welcome to this hotel." Yes, like so, the customer is coming to the hotel, but you don't want them just wandering around randomly anywhere into the kitchen or whatnot. You want them to be able to be directed to where it is that the parameters of they where they need to be, so we can direct you to the room. This is the lounge, this is the restaurant, this is the bar, there's a public toilet there. Do you get what I mean? There's reception. I think an API gateway operates in a similar way. And then the second question was what again? Sorry, was it CloudFront?
Yes.
So CloudFront is basically a way of ensuring, it's a way of ensuring that your data, such a it could be like actual data, such as say for instance, if there was, I'm not sure in terms of data, but I know like video, music, tech, things like that. So for a streaming service or whatnot, or the example I gave was like say a news broadcaster or what have you. Um, it's a basically a means to be able to distribute data quickly without latency. Like, so it's kind of like seamless. So you could have somebody in let's say you could have somebody, say if you had a news company in the UK, and like say the BBC. So the BBC in the UK has sent one of their correspondents to Russia. No, to Australia. Yeah, because that's a really long flight, isn't it? Yeah. So there's something happening in Australia, maybe to cover something like the bushfires. Um, that correspondent is over there. The film crew's over there. They're filming what's happening and reporting back. And the 6 o'clock news, like live reporting now from the 6 o'clock news, and the BBC wants to deliver this content to the public to make them aware, so they can't afford to have the um the video and the footage glitching because of like latency issues. And okay, like when something's pending, like when it pauses and you've got to wait for it to load, obviously you need that kind of fluidity to say we're reporting live from Australia. This is the latest of what's happening. Are you there? Yes, we've seen that this is happening, that is happening. So you need that to be able to be quite seamless. So what it does, because there's such a great distance between the two locations, what oh gosh, I just said it as well. uh my bad. What CloudFront does is it has a series of locations that are called edge locations, where it's like, okay, this region will push the information to the edge location, and then that edge location, so then the location that it's trying to access that information, that region will then speak. So it'd be like the region of Europe will speak to the region of Asia, as opposed to, okay, United Kingdom's going to try and find which in the United Kingdom, like in London, there might be, or in Europe, there might be, I don't know, London, Paris, France, work that out, and then say, okay, it's got to get from London or Paris, France, work out which one of those, um, or Germany, sorry, and then it's got to try and work out, okay, over that part of the world, is it in Australia, New Zealand, or somewhere else similar? Like it cuts that out. It's saying, okay, we're going to go from this region in the world to that region in the world, and then it delegates it. So that's not a very good way to explain it. I know I'm at the point where I know what it does and how it works. It's just the explanation of it. It's basically say it basically cuts out the moving around and having to like find drill to find that information. So instead of going to your house and knocking on your door, you would take your letter to the post office, who would then take it to the like be able to directly send it to the next post office. Say if I was trying to post something to you in another country, instead of trying to like find your address and deliver it to your door, I'm going to take it to the post office. Then the post office will say, right, I'm going to deliver this to the post office in your area by the shortest means, as opposed to me trying to jump on a bus and a plane and a train to try and get to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
not really? That was a little bit hard to explain, but that's the best way I could like visually explain it, but I do know what it does.
yeah, I got you.
Okay.
So it's clear. It's clear. I understood it. Your
Oh,
explanation is very clear.
okay, awesome. I'm seeing if like how you doing for time?
I didn't get you.
Like how are you fixed for time? Are you able to stay on for another one, or do you want to wrap it up there?
Yeah, I'm ready to learn.
Okay, awesome. I'm just looking for the next one that we can do. Have we done Redshift? It says that it's an hour 15. It's usually not as see, right. Redshift, I believe, is something that like is a service that moves information around. I'm not exactly sure what that is. I haven't got there yet. But it provides a basic understanding of Redshift, demonstrates the steps to creating a Redshift cluster, loading data into a Redshift cluster, and performing queries against the data in that cluster. Okay. All right. So it sounds like it's like data based. Okay. Ah, Amazon Redshift is a fast, fully managed data warehouse that makes it simple and cost effective to analyze all your data using standard SQL or SQL and your existing business intelligence tools. Okay, so like, would this be like, say, maybe for information from like a hospital or something like that, especially like with COVID and whatnot? Again, I'm trying to put use cases in my head, like how it can be used, if that makes sense. Select all the squares with motorcycles. Let's do that. Okay, so in this, I like databases and stuff. I can't explain to you why. I think it's just like the organization of data I find really helpful. So I believe we might be using S3 as well. So there are 5 steps to this lab. We're going to launch an Amazon Redshift cluster. We're going to use the Redshift query editor to communicate with the Redshift cluster. We're going to create a table. We're going to load sample data from S3. Yeah. Query the data. And then, okay. All right, I'm fascinated. So a data warehouse. So big data is a huge part of like tech, and it just sounds so vast to hear data warehouse. Okay, just to note that on the left hand side underneath open console, there's an ARN here, a role. So that's probably going to be used at some point. So just remember that it's there. When they ask you for something a bit weird, oh, here it is on the left hand side. Can you see it? Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, yeah, I can see.
All right. Awesome. All right. So let's get started. I'm actually excited about this one. I haven't done this one before. So in the management console on the services menu, click Amazon Redshift. And like we always say, you can also type in the search box. I just find that more straightforward. So, see, because I find I'm looking at this now, I don't see it, even though it might be there. So let's do this. Redshift. There you go. Fast, simple, cost-effective data warehousing. Oh, I'm excited. I'm such a nerd. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is um click clusters in the left navigation pane. Let's see. Over here. Right. Okay. And then we're going to click create cluster. Ooh. Right. In the configuration section, we're going to configure. So the cluster is lab. Oh, lowercase. I don't know if it makes any difference, but I like to write it the way that they've said it. I know why they've said it that way. The node type, and I think the node, what did it say about the node? The node determines the CPU, RAM, storage capacity, and storage drive. They're all different sizes and whatnot. So for this one, we're going to be selecting a DC2 large. It just sounds like it's going to DC2 large. And it tells, well, oh, that's awesome. It also tells you like what the storage is, how much it is per hour, the vCPU, the generation. Okay, that is
DC2
cool.
DC2 large or DC2X large?
You know what? Let me check back. DC2 large, which is 25 cents per node per hour.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, cool. That's good to check because there's two and then there's two X. Yeah. All right. And then the amount of nodes that we want is two, but the range of nodes that you can select is between 1 and 32. Uh, okay. So what it does is it tells you how much per month, yeah, and how much storage. So this is on demand, but it says saves more than 60% of your cost by purchasing reserved nodes. So basically costing varies depending on whether it's on demand, reserved, spot. That's there's different types. But for this one, it's telling us that because we're doing it now on demand, so that's $36 a month. So that's like $360 a month. So that's like a serious amount of data. Like anyway, okay. In the database configurations section, configure the database name, which is labdb. Let's have a look. So database. Let me just double check. Ah, in the database configuration section. Yeah, here. So it is labdb, the name, master username, uh, let's do the password. The password is Redshift123 with a capital R. Then I'm not sure what that. Hmm.
Expand the cluster permissions, which means clicking on the arrow.
Because the permissions, it's just this database configurations part that's got me a little bit stumped, Si, because it's got three steps. In the database configuration section, configure database name labdb, master username master, and then master user password Redshift123. But on the actual thing, there's only two sections. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, correct.
So I'm just like, okay, do I use, obviously password is password, but do I use labdb or master on that first section? Admin
Put,
username.
put the username.
Be master, isn't it?
Yeah,
Okay. All right. Let's stick with that. So expand cluster permissions, and then for available IAM roles, select Redshift role. So cluster permissions. Oops, I forgot what I just read. Redshift role.
yeah, second one.
Awesome. And then you're going to associate the role. So you're making it clear that you want to connect it. Awesome. In the additional configurations, deselect use default. So additional configurations, deselect it. So you don't want to use the default. All right. So we're going to go in and do this personally. Okay, expand network and security. and we're going to go to Lab VPC and Redshift Security Group. So first we're going to select Lab VPC, and then for Security Group, we're going to select Redshift Security Group. Not default. Hold on. Double check. Deselect default. Select Redshift Security Group. Okay, cool. And then scroll to the bottom of the screen and then click Create Cluster, and it will take a few minutes to launch. Master username parameter must be lowercase, begin with the letter. Let's see. So where's that then? So I'm not sure whether. I'm not sure. Hold on, let me just double back and check. No, it said lab. That's right. I missed something somewhere. We've put that in configuration sample data. Right. It's saying enter a login ID. Lab. Let's try LabDB. I don't know.
That is the database name, I think. LabDB.
Now it said to just call it lab. That was I've literally just gone back and checked that. Maybe it's just a warning to it was just a warning. Okay, fine. Right, it's being created. Well, we'll soon see. Sometimes you have to make the mistake in order for it to so here it is, it's showing up here. It's saying that it's being created. I've never seen this UI before, this user interface. And it's like it's something that I've heard about but I've never looked at before. So this is absolutely dope. So you can query the data here. Okay. Can connect to. Ooh, I like it. It's creating. Let's see if we do a refresh to see if it's created. Not yet. It's saying don't rush me. Oh, select it. Yeah, it's saying don't rush me. Okay, I won't rush it. Oh dear. So the cluster will take a few minutes. Um, Please continue with the lab steps. There's no need to wait. Okay. Click the name of your cluster, lab, and then the configuration will be displayed. Spend a few minutes looking at the properties, and then wait for the status of your cluster to display available before continuing to the next task. And that's exactly what we was doing, isn't it? I'm finding this fascinating, to be fair. Like saying there's a driver, you're allowed to download the driver as well. I'm not sure why you would do that. That's something that, as I learn, I will look into more. However, the let's have a look. Okay, it's not found because it's actually still creating, but There's loads. Oh, is it there now? Oh, there is like literally cluster identifier namespace. Say that's modified. It gives you the date created, storage used, node type, how many nodes, AQUA, not available, endpoint, etc. Cluster performance, recommendations, alarms. So you can put connect it with CloudWatch, any events, and then you've got your metrics, CPU utilization, database connections. Excuse me. I mean, you can really fine drill data for every 5 minutes. You can say whether you want it every 5 minutes, every 1 minute. I'm sure that if you increase the amount, it would increase the cost for the last hour, 3 hours, days, week. We'll have it for the last hour, average, minimum, maximum, sample count, etc. Okay, so there's a lot of. Let's go back to clusters. It's still creating. Ah, it's available. Yes. Right, dope. Okay, so let's go to the next step where we're going to use the Redshift query editor to communicate with our Redshift cluster. So it can be used via industry standard SQL or SQL. To use it, you require that a SQL client that provides a user you require a user base a client that provides a user interface to type SQL. Any SQL client that supports JDBC or ODBC can be used with Redshift. These are all things that I have to look up. In this lab, you will use the Redshift query editor. In the left navigation pane, click Editor, then select Connect to Database. Alright. This might be where we will hit on a problem. So let's try it. So for the cluster, click Lab, database name, LabDB, user master. Let's see. Okay, why can I not find where to select database? Hmm. Hmm. Let's try again. I've selected it this time. Okay. I might need to go back and redo this step because I don't. Access denied with an explicit deny. Okay. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this cluster and try again. Let me just double check. I'm going to quickly scroll to the end of the lab and see if I need to delete anything. No. I don't want a final snapshot. Just want to delete this cluster. Okay. Right, and then I'm going to repeat those steps again. Bear with me. I'm sorry. If you've gotten further, I do apologize, but I'm going to make sure that I do get this right. So let's start from scratch. So we want Redshift. And this is why it's so. See, there's something that's saying access denied. Let's look at the notes because does it say anything? Because sometimes it says like what issues you can it can come up with. Common login errors, so no, that's fine. Right, let's try again, shall we? Right, so that's just deleting right now. Let me hit refresh to make sure it's completely gone so there's no confusion. Alright, awesome. So it says on the left navigation pane, click clusters. Click create user to open. Okay, so I'll create cluster. Right, awesome. Cluster configuration. Cluster identifier is lab. Right. The size was DC2 large with 2 nodes. I haven't missed anything so far. Database configurations. Hmm. Lab DB. Cluster permissions. Available IAM role. Redshift role. Associate. But it's saying that it's not applied. Because it kept saying access denied. Role grants permission in the additional deselect use defaults. network and security, lab VPC, deselect this one and select this one. Let's see. No, I don't want to save it, thank you. I wonder if it's this here that needs... See, it's saying cluster lab not found. That's so interesting. Is it that it's just creating it? I'm not sure. I haven't got to Redshift yet. I do apologise. I followed the steps that it says here. It's doing something because it's saying that it's used storage so far, but it's saying access denied, is not authorized. So with an explicit deny, so that might mean that right. So it's using the CPU. So it's doing something, it's there, it's being created. Cluster namespace lab. That part's done. So it's saying that it's available now. That's not what I'm looking for. Right, okay. So it said, okay, I created one, deleted one, created one, okay. Alright. Query monitoring. So there's no queries so far. Let's try this then. Amazon Redshift Query Editor. In the left navigation pane, click Editor, then select Connect to Database. So Editor. Connect to Database. Sometimes reading is fundamental. Right, configure cluster is lab. database name labdb, database user is master. Okay, and then click connect. But it's saying database labdb does not exist. Okay, so cancel that. So then do we need to create a database then? That's so interesting. It's saying that there's no... It's saying select a database. There is no database, there actually isn't. So we created a cluster. I'm just going to the notes. After you've verified that your cluster is up and running, which it is, you can create your first database. Okay. Step 1, create a database. Create a database user, which is what I thought I did. So where is the... So that's in the roles. Let me go to the IAM real quick. So maybe I need to go to Redshift and attach that cluster and attach more. It's saying that the access is denied. So let's see. Let's go to the lab cluster. Is there somewhere where we can edit it? Okay. Let's see. We've done that.
At the bottom, we can see database configuration.
Mm-hmm. Right, database configuration. So database name. So let's see. Let's edit it. Uh, cluster permissions, possibly. Because it said that this manage the roles. Mm-mm. I bet you there's something like really simple that I'm not doing. Mm-mm. Schedules. So it's saying access denied for that. Okay. So I can't add. I wonder if I can take one away and redo the other one. I'm not sure what's happening here. I'm enjoying having a good old. It's taking a snapshot. Edit. It is. It's this part here, isn't it? Edit data. Hmm. I'm so not sure. Nope. The database name. The admin username is there, labdb. The database name, it's got dev instead of lab. So the name should be labdb and then the username should be master. But then when it's saying to edit that, that's the only one. I'm not sure.
I think the database name that is asking is Dave. Maybe the database is automatically created.
I think so. And there wasn't any space to put it in the way that it was
because
Let's try.
when we are giving the database name and the username, we had
Mhm.
only two options, not three options.
Right,
I
right.
think
And it's saying,
it is automatically created. If we see in the database configurations, there is a
mhm.
database with the name called Dev, which means it is created automatically. And under that, we can see admin username, which is master, which we gave.
But I
I think
didn't. I
that
didn't.
the only problem is about the database. The database is option was not there, but it is automatically created, I think, because there is a name, there is a database with the name called Dev. Why can't we
Mhm.
go with that name?
Yeah, I think we will then. But
Yeah,
when I
yeah,
go now to the next part,
yeah,
to go to no, it's not query. Sorry, query. Right. So we're now going to query a database, right?
yeah.
Select a database. So then, if I put dev, no match found. If I put lab, no match found. You see, so there's. I'm trying to find where's the. Okay, let's connect to a database. Create a
Here,
new
when database
connection.
name is asking, right? Here, if we give Dev as database name,
Ah, I got you. So dev here, and then lab db here. Is that, or is it the other way around? Let's try it. No, labdb doesn't exist. Let's try lab. Saying lab doesn't exist.
try master.
Okay.
Put the database name as uh, Dev, DEV.
No. Saying that user master doesn't exist either.
For me here, I came inside and uh, it
Ah,
worked.
got it. I mean, it
Yeah,
was the. Oh, cool. Okay. You know what? Sometimes that's the best way to learn is to go wrong. Um, I just want to say that for anybody watching, I find sometimes I learn from going wrong as well and how to get right. And we did quite we did like thank you for your patience there as well, sorry, because you already got in. So what had happened was it was just the naming. So the database's name was Dev, I think, and I'd because I'd inputted labdb, it was just finding the right combination to okay. So we're in. That's fine. All right. Awesome. Okay. So next we're going to create a table. So SQL commands. I've not done this before, so this is exciting. So delete the existing query one window. So let's see. This query one window. Uh, I don't even know my way around it. It's saying delete it. Right, let's find my way around. It's on one. Ah, nope. Save queries. It's saying that there are none. Okay, so that's the first one then, yeah? Okay, let's try it. Ah, there was no data in there. Right, so we're going to paste this in there. Okay, and then we're going to click run. So we've put some queries in there and we're going to run those queries. Right, and the query's been completed. It's saying it's completed. Green ticks are always good. This command will create a table called users. It contains name, address, and details about the type of music a user likes. So then table. Right, so where do we find the table? It's saying table details, no data selected. To view details, choose data from navigator. Ah, okay. So it might be here. So that's been what's been uploaded. Preview data maybe. Ah, I'm finding it. Loading preview data. Okay. I don't see anything. Ah, or is it this? Or is it this? Visualize. Run a query that returns results. Okay. I thought that's what had happened. Alright, let's go to the next step. Follow the steps. Load sample data from S3. Okay, so Redshift can import data from S3. Various file formats are supported. Fixed length fields, comma separated values, CSVs, and custom delimiters. The data for this lab is pipe separated. Okay. Delete the existing query, then paste this SQL command in the query 1 window. Okay. I'm going to do as I'm told. Before running this command, you will need to insert the role that Redshift will use to access S3. To the left of the instructions you're currently reading, copy the value for the role. Okay, that's where that came in. Paste the role into the query window, replacing your text role. Okay. Here. Okay. And then hit run. I'm not sure what's happening here yet. I might have to do this a couple of times to get it. The command will take approximately 1049. Well, okay. All right. Okay, so we're now going to query data. Now that you have data, you can query the data using SQL. Run this query to count the number of rows in the users table. Oh, okay. It's making sense. It's starting to. The result shows that there were almost 50,000. Okay, almost 50,000. Right, got you. Okay. Then run this query. I think I like this now. It was really confusing me before. It's still a bit confusing, but it's becoming clearer the more I'm using it. But I do apologize, I'm not explaining this part very well, is it? Basically, we're running just a section of queries whereby this query is supposed to display users in Ohio who like sports but do not like opera, selected by first name. Okay, 18 rows. Okay. They don't like opera. It's alright. No beef with opera. So next we're going to run this query. Query 4. So you basically, it's saying you want users that like jazz by city. Okay. It's starting to make sense now. So these are all the cities and how many people like jazz in those cities. I'll be right with them. I like jazz too. Okay, and it's limited to 10. Okay, I've got you. So let's double check. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and there's 10 cities. All right. Okay, okay, okay. Challenge. Try to write a query for these requirements. Only the first and last name of users who like both theatre or classical music with the last name Smith. Okay, right, let's try it then. I like a challenge me. Right, so let's use this brother here. Why don't we paste this? Select first name, last name as count from where users who like theater, theater and class, like theater. Let's try that. Group by Smith. I'm gonna try it. If it's wrong, it's wrong. Let first name, last name as count from users where that like theatre, like classical, group by Smith, or would it be error syntax at or near position 37? Let's maybe then do last name, select maybe Smith, syntax position 23. Okay, I don't know it, that's fine. View the answer here. I had it. Okay. I wasn't far out because initially I did say select first name and last name. It's like theatre. So it was the and last name equals Smith. Okay. Well, let's try it then. Ah, like theatre and like. See, I didn't know that the last name equals Smith in parentheses, semicolon. So then, should that be gone? Nope. So what have I done wrong here then? I like, yeah. Let's see. Excuse me. Ah, nope. But no, it's there. I believe that's it now. Nope. Near. Don't understand then. It's saying something about the syntax at or near. So double check. Order by first name. So I wonder if it's then. No. Can you see where it is that I'm going wrong?
Yeah, so I'm watching you.
Can you see where what's wrong in this code? It's saying that there's error, syntax error at or near position 37.
Can you copy and paste again?
Well, it was this here because it's saying that's the answer here. That's what you need to put in. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
So what I've tried to do is put that in. So here, so is it that this should be on the same line? Do you think? So what I'm looking is I'm looking at other forms. Select. Ah, maybe that's supposed to be on the same line. No. Now it's saying syntax error at or near position 35. Select first name, last name. Yeah. Which is that? First name, last name. First line, yeah. From users. Oops. From users. Ah, is that missing there? Nope. maybe it's that. Yes. Okay. So I was putting too much extras in there because I'd used the count. So figuring it, okay. So initially, when I tried to do it the first time, it's because the first name and last name wasn't on the same line as select. Okay. I went wrong. I figured out how to get it right. It's completed. I feel good about it. So compared to the first thing that okay, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't brilliant, but it wasn't terrible. I've never done that before, so I'm really happy. I got to, I found it at the end. There's all the people that like both classical and theatre with the last name Smith. All right, coolio. Whew. With 8 minutes to spare. Sometimes, yeah, like I guess it's because in my head, like sometimes I forget that I'm a student. All right, that not bad, not bad. Considering I've never done it before, like obviously I'm gonna do it again. And when I cover Redshift as well, I'll feel so much more confident. All right, cool. Okay. All right, so then that concludes today's session. Like I'm even more happy because not that it's an excuse or anything, but I wasn't feeling my best. And the last one, definitely something that I hadn't done before. The others I've touched on beforehand, so I felt a bit more confident. But I really, in terms of learning and autonomous learning, I think um, it's important not to be afraid to get things wrong because sometimes getting it wrong is how you figure out how to get it right. And it's good that I'm doing it in a learning environment. Thank you for being there as well. And I've just got the email notification that I finished it as well. Okay, awesome. Right, how was that for you? Was that painful to watch? Oh dear. Hello.
Yeah,
Was that quite painful to watch, or how
it's
did you
it's
find it?
yeah, it's a learning experience. So I enjoyed learning and watching.
I do, I do too. Um, and it's like I don't know. I find it even more satisfying when I get it at the end after getting it wrong. Like I'm not afraid. It there's a phrase, failing well, and I feel like by failing and getting to the answer from that place of failure, to me that's still a success. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, correct.
Although like there is a part of me like the ego's kicking in so bad. But at the end of the day, like I can't be like frustrated. I've never done it before. Like it's like some people are brilliant, just like totally brilliant like that, where they could just approach something that they've never done before and get it, and that's all good. Um, I don't think it's fair to put that on myself. To be fair, and we was able to figure it out as well. So yeah. It's just to be able to now study and I've got a section coming up on it, so I will feel a lot more confident when I get to that section now, having that experience.
Awesome.
Definitely. All right. So, okay, so we're going to conclude today's session. Actually,
Yeah,
ran over a little bit, but that's fine. It was worth it. Like, I found it actually more valuable. I think I might jump on a bit later this evening. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I might, and just do a bit more because it has really piqued my interest. And the first time handling big data as well. Like, come on now, it's a whole data warehouse. Yeah, right. Okay, you don't need to hear my process out loud, do you? Ay, ay, ay. All right, so hopefully same time next week.
yeah.
All right. Okay, I will talk to you. Have a great week. Thank you for having me.
Thank
And
you.
hopefully we'll both have a productive, safe, healthy week. I've got to make sure I drink plenty of water as well. Yes.
Yeah,
And see
thank
if I
you.
can do. All
Thank
right, my
you.
darling.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Natalie, for giving me your valuable time and explaining three very good services of AWS. I'm sure people who have listened this and watched this, definitely they will practice it, and I hope it will be helpful for them, and you will be the reason and for their understanding of that services.
I hope so, and I think that like for us that are learning, I think it is really important that we're able to say, you know what, we are learning. There's a learning process, and I'm really grateful to have the experience of being able to learn as well. Um, and their services are amazing. Like I find it fascinating, to be honest. Absolutely fascinating. I'm definitely going to be reading up about Redshift, and I'm looking forward to that module when it comes to. Yeah.
So thank you, Natalie. We'll meet next week. Can I put this video on my YouTube channel
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
with
sure.
your permission?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, though.
Yeah, and can I put this video on my video and audio clip on my podcast, internet, website, everywhere, social media
Yes,
with your permission?
yes, sure.
So I hope this time is helpful for people who watched this and who heard us. So thank you again. Like every time I say, thank you very much for your valuable time and for your valuable words.
You're very welcome. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. See you next week. The coded
All right,
carbon.
all right then. So this is Smart Cherries Tech. People get to know. All right, darling. Take care.
Yeah. See you soon.
All right. Peace.